Well, the first thing we had to do was convince the public that we had to anticipate growth as opposed to react to growth. And the best way to do that is to let them know that the more choices you have in transportation, the more congestion-free you'll be in the future, and the more competitive you'll be economically in the future when competing against such towns as even Nashville. And I'm a firm believer that if you have good roads, good buses, good light rail, good bicycle paths, good pedestrian-friendly access and sidewalks, that we'll have a better city in which to walk and transport people to and from work and to and from important destinations. Well, the best way to get across the concept of planning instead of reacting is to show them pictures of your city where you reacted and how economically downtrodden those areas are, and how vital those areas would be if we would have had good planning as opposed to just reaction to growth. I call them the corridors of crap, and every city has them, including Nashville. It's changed dramatically. 10 years ago, the bus system was seen as a system in which only poor people rode, or in which a system in which only people without cars rode. Everyone avoided the buses. A city in which mass transit, especially light rail, was not even in the wildest imagination of being implemented. People talked about it, but the implementation was probably in the next 50 to 60 years. And today we have a bus system that is full of riders of all economic classes, of all races. Suburbs want to have bus lines now and park and rides. And we have a light rail line that now the biggest complaint is we didn't make it big enough. I would have never imagined that 10 years ago. You make it clean, you make it safe. You make sure it goes where the people want to go and need to go. You take the politics out of where you put your bus lines. You make it pedestrian friendly when you get off the bus. You make your bus shelters pedestrian friendly, where people will stand there for 15 to 20 minutes in comfort. You think of it as a business, and you treat people as though they're human beings and not just as animals getting on some metal contraption. But most of all, you have to make it safe and clean and affordable, and you have to make sure the brand is suitable to everyone in the community. The typical corridors where you have dangerous roads, where you have no sidewalks, where you have strip malls, often vacant strip malls, where you have utility lines everywhere, where you have signs and clutter, no trees. They're the corridors that you avoid when bringing visitors to your city. If corridors are planned for and built properly, they'll have sustainability, and you'll get more tax return for that property in the long run to help pay for your police and fire and roads and other needs. In addition, the businesses will do better and the land investors will do better. One of the first audiences that you have to get to in good planning is the business community, and let them know that if you plan it right the first time, you'll get a better return for your investment. If you ignore that community, you won't have success, and that includes the development community. People typically think in the suburbs that once my suburbs will be built, nothing will be built beyond it. And that's never true. There's always something beyond it, and then everyone demands a traffic light so I can get in and out of my neighborhood onto the only corridor, because usually the corridors of the 70s, 80s, and 90s have no grid system. So very few roads funnel on those major corridors. Therefore, you have a light every 50 to 100 yards, and therefore you have congestion, and therefore you have a corridor that you would avoid at any cost. Avoid driving your car, avoid investing your business in, because there is no sustainability in that type of corridor. But we keep repeating that same mistake over and over again in most American cities. And now most American cities are trying to repair those corridors and recover from the blight of those corridors. And as you know, recovery from blight takes a long, long time, and it's very, very expensive. Well, all we're really doing is saying, why don't we go back to the planning of the 1920s and 1930s? And those corridors are the corridors that tend to have the most sustainability and the best investments that last over 10 years. Many corridors that we have in United States cities, including Nashville, have corridors in which the investment only lasts 10 to 20 years and then it closes down. And then you have blight and decay and crime, no taxes, unemployment. Then what do? You have to pour millions upon millions of dollars to try to revitalize that community. And usually it takes decades to do that.